How we doing? Morning.
Well,
All
Coach,
right. Yep.
how about an overview from your perspective on how your offense performed Saturday in that environment?
Yeah, the obvious statements are turnovers. I mean, that's the two big ones. We're not scoring touchdowns in the red zone, and then the two early fumbles really hurt us. And defense gave us a chance in the end, and that's really all you can ask for. It felt like 3-point lead in the fourth quarter and have multiple shots at it to win the game, and just couldn't execute at the end there. So that was the tough part, just the turnover piece. If you'd bet me before the game that Rivers and Jake and Cropper would all put the ball on the ground, I'd have probably bet against that pretty heavily. And just expensive lesson, and for Jake especially, that was a unforced error, and he was out in the middle. We had ourselves in the 3rd and 1, maybe even a first down right there at the end, and would have put us in really good position. So it was disappointing in the fact that it was a game that was easily winnable, and we gave it away. That's the hard part. And I've heard it many times already, a lot of people talking about no moral victories, and I truly believe that our guys genuinely are not they're hurting. I mean, they know they gave that away and to a tough opponent, and just too many easy mistakes that we can't make. Putting the ball on the ground, and 5 penalties on the offensive line. Just the noise was obviously an issue for us, and prepped as hard as we could for that. But even that unit, really the loudest circumstances Matt Smith ever played in was the Coliseum, and that's not Oregon. That's a different type of noise level. So those little situations really hurt us. Negative yardage plays, get behind the sticks, and it was really very few times was it them that were holding us up. It was always constantly ourselves between penalties and fumbles. I thought Jake played a good football game with the exception of the fumble. I thought he got the ball out of his hand, did a good job with that. There was a couple sacks where they were right on top of him. That was pretty difficult to navigate. But really, even Jake and I were talking this morning, and I can't remember one throw where I was really like, Jake, that really put us in a tough spot. Questionable decision. He was getting the ball out of bounds, out of his hands. So a lot of the things that we stressed during the week, I thought he executed really well. Got to do a better job up front. And getting the run game going earlier. They were a tough defensive front, very physical with their linebackers. But I thought the guys played extremely hard, and again, just a difficult lesson to learn. You just don't want to have game day lessons. That's what great football teams can't have, and I think this is a great football team. So hopefully we learn from it and move forward.
What were some of the things that encouraged you after looking at the tape?
I thought when you look about Josh Kelly playing against one of the best field corners in the Pac-12, maybe in the country, and just how he was able to separate and even make stop catches and things like that, and make tough catches in traffic. Felt really encouraged by that, and just our skill guys, their ability to run in space, and even up front. Alex Akinbulu gave up 1 sack where he didn't get off the ball against number 5, but I thought he matched up the rest of the day really well. I thought he played a really good football game, and I didn't feel like he was ever overwhelmed. I thought Mose, dealt with their interior guys really well and held up really well. So I thought there was 2 bright spots there, and then just physicality. I know for sure, talking to some of their coaches, that they're beat up, and our guys played hard and physical. And you watch 80 for us, Juan Rodriguez, run around out there, and he definitely made his impact known. And I thought they played really physical, and that's got to be our brand of football.
Touching off of Juan Rodriguez, if you count him, you had 10 different receivers make a catch in Saturday's game. Just how does that help this offense, the diversity that Haener can find on the field?
Yeah, I think the first thing is, hats off to Oregon a little bit on a few of their game plan to force us to get the ball spread out. Luckily for us, we've done a really nice job of developing that over the spring and fall camp, of having a lot of answers with a lot of different guys. And, for us moving forward, I think the teams are going to continue to see that ball can end up anywhere on the football field. And so for us, obviously, when a defense has to guard all those different guys and consider all the options that we have, that makes it really difficult on them. So I thought Jake did a good job of spreading the ball around.
Coach, I asked you last week about Kayvon Thibodeau. How did the game change when he went out with that sprained ankle?
Well, I think there was a lot of things. Structurally, I think that they changed a little bit in the back half, even where they had to bring a little bit more pressure and maybe be out of some of their base coverage looks that they didn't necessarily want to be out of. So I think that forced their hand a little bit to be a little bit different up front with what they wanted to do with their backers and things like that. So, for us, we had a lot of chips and things like that built in that we didn't have to use as much once he was out of the football game. So that did absolutely help us, and he's a good player. But I think it was the last play he was in, he sprained his ankle, and then they taped it up. He came back in, and literally the last play he was in, Juan Rodriguez gave him a rib shot, and he tapped out. And I take that as hats off to Juan and how our guys played and how physical they were, and he didn't want to be in there anymore. So it was good to see from that regard.
We knew their defense was going to key on Ronnie Rivers. Were you surprised, though, at how stifled he was? Because usually he could find some holes, break free, a little bit, but he really didn't get a chance to do much in this game.
No, I think that was going to be, especially when we saw all the closed coverages and loaded boxes and things like that. I felt like it was going to be, 7-man boxes at the very least and things like that. They were going to make it pretty tough on us to run the ball. And, some of their size advantage on the inside held us up a little bit on our inside runs, and felt like we still had some opportunities on some outside runs that we missed on, that we could have done a little better job to get Ronnie outside on those. And then, a few of our screens actually got held up on penalties where we were trying to get the ball to Ronnie, so that was a little bit unfortunate. Felt like we had a good amount of stuff to be able to still get Ronnie his touches, and I don't know what his final count was. It had to be close to 20. And I always feel like you got to get him the ball at least 20 to 25 times.
You mentioned Jake played a really good game with the exception of that fumble. What did you say to him when he came off the field after that play? Because he was probably beating himself up for it. How did you calm him down?
Yeah, he just knew right at that moment, he's going to have to deal with the personal side of that play at a later time, and that's the toughest part. And he did a good job of flushing that play and realizing the only way to give our team a chance to win was get the emotions out of it right at that time, and he'll have time to process that event later. But if he, holds up on it right there at that time, then he wouldn't have access to his tools to make the next play. So he did a good job, and then it was tough afterwards. He sits by me on the plane on the way home, and he was crushed. He knew that it cost the team and at a really critical time, and nobody took it more personally than Jake.
Coach, I was just about to use that word. It sounds like the offense maybe took the loss a little more personally because of the turnovers. How do you flush this one and focus on Cal Poly?
Well, you have to. You just don't have an option, and that was yesterday in offensive meetings. I told the guys we have only one option, and that's growth. And that's all you can take from this is growth. If you look at it any other way and you sit back and, wait for it to feel better, it's never going to. So we did take it personally. We thought the defense gave us a chance to win in the fourth quarter, and shoot, that's all you can ask for, and the guys had made a lot of good plays too. That was what I really we beat them up on the plays we had to talk about, and we call it Tell the Truth Sunday, and we owned it, and also tried to focus on some of the good stuff that they did really well. That there's a lot to build on, and you got to find that balance with the guys to make sure that they come out of an event like this with confidence. They have to own what they did wrong and get better at the mistakes, but at the same time, you got to find a way to build on those things and know that we're a damn good football team and that there's something to build on, and next time we get a shot to win a big game in the fourth quarter, we're going to do it.
What can you tell us about Cal Poly's defense?
Very multiple, a lot of different coverages and guys moving around. They play a lot of 3-down and 4-down fronts, so you're going to see a lot of different looks. We've got a few games from last spring, and then obviously this last weekend against San Diego, and I think they try to move some guys around quite a bit and try to make the most of their mid-level skill guys, linebacker type bodies and things like that, and they do a good job of that.
And on the depth chart we got, it has Jalen Henderson now as the number 2 quarterback. Can you share where the status of that position is?
Yeah, Jalen will be the backup for this game. Felt like after the UConn week, Logan had a good shot at the UConn game, and there's some things that I thought it was close enough where Jalen's week of preparation in Oregon, I thought he kind of overtook Logan a little bit, and so now he's been repping with the twos.
Coach Grubb, any players on Cal Poly's defensive front? I don't know how much time you've had to watch film of Cal Poly yet, but anyone that kind of stands out as maybe a potential playmaker the Bulldogs have to game plan for?
Yeah, I think 56. He's a returning starter for him. Their nose guard. He plays a little bit all over, but he's a good football player. Emeka Endo, actually used to play here at Fresno State, is a really good defensive end, and I know Emeka plays really hard, so we'll have to be ready for him as well. And then they have a kind of a hybrid player that plays defensive end and backer, and you'll even see him line up at safety. Number 11 does a pretty good job as well. And then they got a really physical linebacker core. Number 43, I think, runs downhill, and I think their 3 leading tacklers last year were all their backers, so they kind of funnel everything to those guys.
And Chris Coleman's another Cal Poly Mustang that used to be a former Fresno State Bulldog. What do you remember of Chris Coleman when he was here at Fresno State, and do you plan on reaching out to him sometime on Saturday before the game starts?
Not probably before, but afterwards, yeah, absolutely. Chris was a super explosive player, and I know he had a 30-some-yard touchdown, I think, on a post route, kind of over the top of 2 guys. Not surprised by that at all. Chris was a good player in that regard, was explosive and could get down the field and stretch the field for him, I'm sure.
Is there any true benefit of having a former Cal Poly defender on your D-line now that learned that system in the spring?
I haven't talked to Bame, but I sure will. So we'll find out if it's worth anything.
We'll take one more question for Coach Grubb. No? All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
This morning. Good morning, Coach. Great to see you all.
Coach, I know we all want to hear about Cal Poly and the week ahead, but one question about Oregon. We could see from up in the box at the end of the game that you went out of your way afterwards to talk to Jake Haener. It looked like you were picking him up a little bit, not to necessarily pry about what was said there, but why was that so important to you in that moment to get with him?
Well, as coaches, you have to embrace every moment because every moment is truly a teaching moment. So for us, I'll tell you what I told him. I said, this program is based on love, and we love how you perform. We will learn from this because this is a teaching moment. Understand the feeling that we feel right now. Just a few plays away. No one knows who it's going to be, what the play is going to be, but when you have your time and your opportunity to make your play, you got to make it.
And how did you feel about the defensive play on Saturday as a whole, how your defense performed against Oregon and the speed of that offense?
Yeah, we're a defense that's consistently, continuously improving. And what the biggest thing that we came from that game is how you have to finish. And you don't know when the play is going to be that you have to be able to make. And that is one of the biggest coaching points that we kind of came out of the game with. We played effective, but in the end, not good enough to win. We do not believe in moral victories here. It's either you win or you don't win, and you have to learn from it.
What are the biggest things you hope your team does learn from that game?
That it doesn't matter what people say on the outside. What you believe and what you prepare for, you can accomplish anything that you desire.
And as you look ahead to the Mustangs, they got that win over USD the other day. What jumps out at you about their offense, and what are you going to have to stop on Saturday?
We got a lot of respect for the offense and for the coaches and for the things that they've done over time. And one thing that we saw, they get the ball out pretty fast. It's done on time. They have some great RPOs and trying to really put you in what we call conflict on defense. So we have to make sure that we're great in it, and we have our best week of the season from a preparation standpoint.
Coach, what happened on that play in the first quarter where Atkins was called for a personal foul when the quarterback still had the ball in his hand?
Again, another teaching moment where he's so close to the quarterback put his hand up as if he was going to throw. Kevin put his hand out and he hit the quarterback in the face. And that's kind of the rules of the rules, and that's exactly what occurred. And the one thing we just told our players is it doesn't matter what happens during the game or what, the penalties that may happen. You just got to keep playing. You got to be winning on that play. They got us on that play, and we got to just continue to keep playing. But that's kind of what occurred. He did end up hitting him in the face. Something that I know in 20 years of coaching I've never seen on a scramble. A guy get hit in the face and penalties called, but it happens.
That's why I asked about it, because we were curious in the moment, too.
Yes. It happened right before he took off. So the officials were very respectful. They came and explained it, and, okay, good. And we went on to the next play.
We asked Coach Grubb this as well, but the players are still fired up about, knowing that opportunity was within your grasp on Saturday. So did you have any specific words of wisdom either on the plane ride back or yesterday on the Tell the Truth Sunday, meetings with the team about how you have to move on from this but use it as motivation but not let it linger?
Yes, championship teams understand how not to be captivated by those respective moments, and you learn from them. And you make sure that when you have your chance again, that you show it. And I hope we're put in another scenario where the game is on the line and the defense is on the football field, because I think it's going to be something that we're going to learn from. And it's our time and our turn to be able to put our football team on our back.
Coach, Cal Poly looked like a much different team on Saturday compared to what they did in the spring. How do you describe what you're doing with film? Did you watch some of the spring games, and how different did they look in this most previous game?
Yeah, Jackson, you are correct, where you're seeing different elements of things that they did in the spring to what they're doing now, and you have to be prepared and ready for everything. And that's the unique thing when you have someone, in a sense, almost like us, where you're kind of in year one, where you played one game or a couple of games. So we're trying to go back and study the film and see kind of some things that they've done historically. And the biggest thing is making sure that we have us squared away in like we need to be when it comes to our systems, our checks, our balances, the communication that has to happen, and how hard our players have to play when the ball is snapped.
What can you tell us about Cal Poly's quarterback? I mean, they defeated San Diego last week, and that's not that's a tough game to win. So, what can you say about their quarterback and overall their offense and what they bring to the table?
I got a lot of respect for him. You can tell he made quick decisions. He can get rid of the football. He throws it very effective, and has the ability to be able to make plays with his feet if needed. And you can tell that the coaches gave him a respective and specific game plan. He carried it out very well, and they were successful.
Second straight game for Aaron Mosby to get a strip like that in a big spot to set up the go-ahead field goal at the time. I mean, what about Mosby's development as a defensive end, movement from safety to linebacker to now defensive end? He's played all three phases of the defense. So what can you say about his transition right now to his new position?
That preparation creates confidence, and for him and all the guys on our football team, we try to tell them, don't let success surprise you, because when you work and you prepare and you try to be elite, though great things are going to happen to you, and it can't be a surprise because you have to expect and anticipate those things. So being able to see Aaron accomplish some of those things thus far, as a staff, we can't say that it's not a surprise because he works to accomplish things like that, and we've seen it happen in practice. So seeing it occur in a game, it's great that everyone can see it now.
And I know you guys are going to be focusing on Cal Poly this week, but can't help but notice last Saturday, UCLA puts up a big number on LSU. They got a superstar quarterback with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I mean, are you kind of looking not past Cal Poly, but keeping in mind that this week is preparation for a big game next week against UCLA as well in their offense?
Unfortunately, UCLA hasn't been one thought in our mind. What we try to do is, as best as possible, play this game in this week with what we call earmuffs and blinders. That way we can keep our focus exactly on the upcoming opponent. And then once we switch a gear after next week, we'll be able to see some things that UCLA has been able to possess and be able to do.
Hey, Coach, what does it say about the defense's mentality when, because of some turnovers, Oregon got up 14-0 really quick, but you guys held them and let your offense, get in their groove and come back in the game and even had a shot there in the fourth quarter?
Yeah. As a defense, we love and we take pride being on the football field. And we tell ourselves you have to be like a fireman. It doesn't matter how you got on the football field. You got to be able to go on and put out the fire. And the biggest coaching point that we had coming out of that is we got to make sure that we can limit some of those scenarios to be able to get some field goals, because that would have truly changed the outcome of the football game. So us being able to take the field, we love it. We embrace it. We want to take the field in adverse scenarios, and that's exactly what we're trying to build our young men to be and to understand.
Take one last question for Coach Inge. All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right, go Dogs. Thank you. You all have a great week.
You too, Coach.
All right, good morning. Good morning. I think Coach has done a good job. I think hopefully you get the tone of kind of where we're at right now. I think we're here in year 2 technically now, and after a game, because of the relationships we have with our guys, we're able to be real. And we were in this very room yesterday and be able to have real conversations. Our guys expressing themselves, and I think it's a great learning moment, as you can hear from both coaches on offense and defense, of what we're going to take from the game and how we're going to make it be better because of it moving forward.
Coach, one thing we didn't address with Coach Grubb or Coach Inge, your special teams situation and a fluky situation. You ended up at place kicker. How enthused were you by the clutch performance of Abe Montano in that game on Saturday?
Yeah, Abe was fantastic. Thursday morning is a normal practice. We go through practice pretty much right towards the very end. The last probably third of it is when Caesar tweaked himself, and really at that time until later in the afternoon, I really didn't think nothing of Caesar not being able to be our kicker, and kind of became a deal to where we understood that it might be a possibility. And then Friday, just wasn't quite ready. And that, we'll find out exactly where that status is, especially after tomorrow or tonight when we see the docs again. So I'm sure it's going to be something where, it'll be probably a kind of day-by-day type thing with Caesar. I'm sure he won't do a lot of kicking for us throughout the week. But I'm really proud of the way Abe, was ready to go. And, that was a challenge we put out to the whole team yesterday, is if you were put in that spot Friday morning, and getting ready for Saturday, would you have been ready to perform like Abe did? And he did what he was supposed to do, and he did a nice job even with kickoffs, placing the ball. We didn't get the touchbacks, but we also asked him one time to just sky kick one, and he put it right where we wanted it, and gave us good field, or pushed them back in what I would consider good field position from a defensive standpoint.
And as you prep for Cal Poly, you've got players on their team who are here, players on your team who are there, coaches, that were here and now are there. What's at stake in your mind in this game Saturday? What's the focus that you want your team to have?
Yeah, no doubt. And, they got some guys that have been here that have done some nice things in our program and are great young men, and always going to be wishing them the best. Guys that got a degree. Chris Coleman's got a degree from here, and so always wishing those guys the best. But I think our focus, when you ask about where our focus is on us. Just keep getting better, and that's going to be the way it is every single week. It's going to be a broken record that you hear from our staff, from myself, because I just really believe it's about us. It's about us taking care of our business and getting better every single practice, every single opportunity, and being ready. Obviously, each game presents different challenges and excitements, and this excitement for this game is we get to play back at home. It's going to be an evening game on a Saturday night, which I know that's when the red wave is at its best, and that's exciting for our players to be back and be in an environment where we're not on the road like we were last weekend, where we're at home, and those cheers are for us, and the distractions are to help it in our favor.
Paul kind of took my question there, so I'll go off on a non-football note. It's kickoff set for the 20-year anniversary of the terrorist attacks on September 11th. Is there going to be a conversation at all in this week about kind of those events? A lot of these players weren't even born, or you're very young when that event happened.
Yeah, there will be, and just trying to figure out actually when during the week we'll talk about it. They're aware of it already, but a true lesson and just kind of understanding. I will say this, Coach Inge last year when we were going through crazy times before we started the season. Guys a year ago were still at home. We didn't start the season fall camp until after, I think, September 24th or 25th. We showed the guys a video of what happened on September 11th a year ago. I know it wasn't the 20th anniversary, but we were, just in our program trying to show the guys what happened on that date. And actually found that video, and that's one that, I might show again because we do have a lot of new faces on our team. We all remember where we were at that time. And so certainly a time in our history where, will never be forgotten.
Coach, how do you view this rivalry? It's not a conference opponent, but it's an in-state opponent. The Fresno State-Cal Poly series, I think this is the 45th time these teams have played. How do you view this rivalry?
Yeah, and that's a good question. Coming in 2017 and 18 and being with Coach Tedford and all the rivalries that have taken place, I was educated very well. Well, this isn't one that I got the scoop on, but obviously, as you said, I've seen this series and where it's at, and obviously, like you said, it's in state. Every game's important because we want to be great and do well in all of them, and it's the next game, and so it's definitely the most important one. And we just getting back to the kind of broken record thing. We just got to keep improving and do our thing. And so Cal Poly's the next opponent, and someone who I know has a great staff. Coach Inge alluded to it. Offensively, certainly Coach Baldwin has that type of mindset. Having his years at Cal and Eastern Washington, seen what he's done over the years, and so we got to be ready for them to continue to grow. They got a quarterback, that I thought did a great job in his first start. He was not there in the spring. That's one of the reasons why they're a different team already, as you can see. And I'm expecting his growth from week 1 to week 2 to be what we talk about in our program, from week 1 to week 2, from year 1 to year 2. And so we got to be ready to take on a team that we know is going to come in here fighting.
I know you don't pay attention to anything except for the next game in front of you, but I'm curious if you have any thoughts. Randy Edsall announced that he's stepping down at the end of the season, and you just faced UConn a couple of weeks ago. You crossed paths with him when you were at Indiana. Any thoughts on his decision and what his legacy in college football is?
Well, I just found out about it last night, actually, and so I don't know too much about it. Just that he's had a ton of success, and he's been a name that, as you go through the years coaching, that you just know is going to be linked with success. And so, you always wish everyone that is in this profession, in the end, we're battling each other each and every week, but in the end, we're all in here for the same purpose, win games, but also help young men become grown-ups and be able to go out into the real world and be successful. So I know just based on over the years what I've seen and heard, he's done a great job of that.
Coach, the Big Sky got 2 wins against the Mountain West and 1 against the Pac-12, came close to some others. Is that a rallying point to tell your team at all this week?
Well, yeah, I think those are great reminders to our team. I think it just shows you the fine line between the different levels. Having been at the different levels, really almost all of them, right? From NAIA to the FCS to being a part of the Power 5 and of course here, there's such a fine line. It's depth. There's going to be great players that we line up against this weekend. It's just a matter of what's the depth on that team, and can you exploit the guys maybe that aren't quite at that level. And so we saw that this weekend when we played. We've seen it on other games over the weekend when FCS teams played. Even teams in our league. And so it's such a fine line. Winning a college football game is a big deal. We said that after the UConn win, that we're going to celebrate this victory because winning a college football game is tougher than many people think.
Are there some things specifically about their defense that stand out to you in terms of maybe exploiting some matchups?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Coach Grubb talked about they got some a player up front. I know their linebackers were very active and had a lot of tackles this last week. Did a nice job. I think it just in their scheme, they're obviously going to try to protect those guys. I feel like from the spring film to yesterday's or Saturday's game, I just feel like they've gotten a lot more consistent, a lot more comfortable. You can see over the summer going into the fall, maybe they've dialed in on exactly what they want to be, not so much of kind of grabbing from everything, but really focused on specific concepts defensively and offensively too. So, I think it's just a matter of, again, us, putting a game plan together and our guys executing just like we do every week.
I know you mentioned their head coach, Bill Baldwin. Just you and him have a couple similarities. Just you guys were both hired in 2019, December 2019. Both had success at the Division II and NAIA level, and both were coordinators at Power 5 programs. So what do you know about head coach Bill Baldwin and the similarities between both of your guys' careers?
Yeah, I mean, he's creative offensively, I think, when it really comes down to why he's been successful, and on that side of the ball in particular. But I think there's just, he's won, and he's won when he was the head coach at Eastern Washington, and now getting a chance to kind of have a full season. I'm sure you're going to see his team really rise quickly over the course of this year and into the years ahead. So I just think there's something to how you bring a team together. He's one of the guys that has had a lot of success doing it, and we got to be ready because guys like that can get their teams improved greatly from week 1 to week 2 and get them amped up to play a team like us and coming in our house when it's going to be a great atmosphere and could be a program defining moment here early in their start to the season and his start as a head coach there.
And you touched on Chris Coleman earlier in this presser, but I just wanted to hear more of your thoughts on Chris Coleman, a guy who you mentioned got his degree here at Fresno State.
Mm-hmm.
What's it going to be like seeing him suit up for Cal Poly on Saturday?
Yeah, Chris is a great young man. He put a lot of time into this program and have a ton of appreciation for him. And like I said, we're going to always wish our own the best. And the college years they go so fast, and you always want, because I know that's the way it was for me, and that's why I do what I do. You want those years that they're in college to be the years that they never forget. Playing college football is an awesome time, and it's something we hope that he enjoys. Enjoys his opportunity there. I want guys to really love being here, but it doesn't work out for the long haul for everyone. And obviously he's going to be on the other side, so we got to get after him. That's going to be the way it is this week. And but in the end, a lot of appreciation, a lot of respect for Chris.
And my last question is: there's a lot more connecting Fresno and San Luis Obispo than just Highway 41 and the 101. There's a lot of local Valley connections on their roster. I'm just curious: were there any guys that you were recruiting that they decided to choose Cal Poly over Fresno State off the top of your head, or any guys that both had mutual interest in?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of right now.
Hey, Coach. Last week I had asked you the question about how do you think the team's going to respond? If Oregon came out, took a lead first, that did happen, due to turnovers. But just how do you like how the team responded? Instead of getting down and maybe the game would have gone differently. You guys held in there. Offense came in, and the defense. Yeah,
you've gotten the tone from the coaches and myself that there's no moral victories in this one. There really isn't. And we talked about that, and that was a loss that was as hard to take as anyone that we've been a part of. And so being close wasn't good enough. But what I'm going to say is the thing I'm going to take as far as the compliments is the character of our team. And the thing I want them to remember is that we were down 14-0, and whether we weathered a storm that was self-inflicted or not, because there were some things I know we could have done better, that was the case. That was the situation. And we found a way, and we found it within ourselves to stick together, to keep fighting. We talk about a puncher's mentality: keep fighting, keep swinging, and keep playing. And it's truly like we preach 1-0, and I know a lot of other programs do. But there's one thing to say it, and there's one thing to absolutely live it out. And I really feel like we lived that out the entire game. We didn't get caught up in what the scoreboard said. We just worried about what our job was and to execute, the challenge to execute it the best of our ability the very next play. The situations changed, and yes, that's the scoreboard, and you got to play with the flow of the game. But our guys just kept battling, and they really did. I didn't see any guys that were just super frustrated, panicked, or anything. I thought we stayed very poised throughout the entire game, and we did a great job in the second quarter. We went into the halftime. I mean, those were 21-6, and our offense goes right back down the field, makes it a one-score game. We get another score. We get a stop and a score in the third quarter, and a lot of momentum. And now the game's for real. And certainly, just didn't find a way to finish. I think that we'll learn a lot from it and continue to move forward, be better.
We'll take one last question for Coach.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
One more question. After a game like that, Coach, is there somebody that you talk to or you turn to just kind of either vent or get advice or motivation?
Yeah, there's people I think over the years that I have. I mean, my best friend Curtis Riggs is a guy back in. We played together. We were teammates. He's an indoor football coach that's run a ton of championships. He's just got that mindset, the big picture piece. But the other part of it is just the people that you surround yourself on this staff. Those are the guys that I've been through this with over 20 years together, and I know it's on us to make sure we respond the right way, get our guys' minds the right way, be critical, but also show them where we're at and how this is going to make us better. And so I think it's I've talked to obviously Coach Hill and Coach Tedford as well, and that's probably going to happen every week no matter what the case is. Just they're so interested in still the program, and I'm always going to rely on them to give me a little tidbit here or there that I can take to the team and make us better. But this staff is an amazing group that has been through the fire at many different ways, and many of them I've done it with them at some point along the way over the years. And so those are the guys really that I go to.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Was that one yours? That was, I got you.
No, Russ, not for you.